Confused prepper here. Information from Russia is that the government has confirmed that Poland and the United States assisted Ukraine in launching an internal attack from Odessa into Russia. I appreciate all those of you that like, subscribe, share this videos with others. It kind of helps out. I'm a small news organization. If you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. The view in Russia now is turning into the understanding that the West wants war and believes that they can render Russia incapacitated and helpless, with war. The Russian neocons, or what we call ex-communists, because Russia is not communist, are exerting pressure on Putin that he has been way too soft and, in fact, has been a patsy of the West. Additional information is emerging as rumors that the U.S. has been training Navy SEALs for Ukraine to assist in destroying the Russian fleet. This is an all-out war. My concern is that starting in January, things are really going to start to ratchet up, and it's going to be obvious to everybody. There's just, I'm going to discuss a little bit further later in this video, but there's all this nonsense that, that Russia is losing this war, that Ukraine is winning somehow, right? And I've got some specific proof to show you here a little bit later. And I'll provide that link down that you can see for yourself. Look, these governments make mistakes. They put information out and act it, right? Withdraw it. It's just kind of the way it is. So in just the same way that Russia has neocons, the United States has got neocons. You got these extreme points of view. We're talking the hard right? Because I'm not one of those kind of individuals. I'm more of the libertarian, middle of the road type. And their viewpoint is simply that they need to nuke Kiev just like the United States nuked Japan with Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And that's going to prevent the war, like a larger war. It's going to stop it all. It's going to show the rest of the world what will happen if the United States keeps on attacking Russia. NATO, if they don't just back off, that we're going to be involved in a global thermonuclear war. It's really, really possible. Our world leaders are that stupid. They're that dumb. They just don't have any clue. And, I just couldn't understand, when I studied government and economics and all this kind of stuff in college, when I studied history, I thought it was fascinating, but how do you really get to this point? It's incredible. So that the only way that they believe they can stop it, like I said, was, it's a nuke them. And that's it. Let's let the nuke off from Kiev, and it's going to stop everybody. This is a proxy war, okay? And now Poland is doubling its military. I did a video on that. I could link it, I guess, right here. And it's preparation for invading Russia. I know a bunch of people commented that's not happening, but come on, guys. Let's get real. It's just get with the program. Everybody thinks this is going to happen, but it's actually in process. The Ukrainians have been used to weaken Russia and forced to expend its conventional, military. That's the thought process. And that would leave Moscow somehow vulnerable to invasion led by Poland, right? And this is not very well thought out, okay? I don't know that Poland's been involved in too many wars recently. Russia has been fighting, Syria, the Chechen war, there's Afghanistan. They've been doing a lot of stuff. And so, overall, they're more capable, trained, etc. And so if anybody knows anybody's in Ukraine, you got to get out, because this is just going to continue to ratchet up, and you're probably looking for answers, right? So kind of what I see is that, this could heat up in January. There's some directional points that show that maybe in May is when Putin goes, but this really gets nasty in 2025. Because it takes time for all this to ratchet up. The war machine is just starting, my friends. It's been going on for years, but it's even, when this money gets spent, it's just not instant. You just can't order, 100,000 troops, weapons, munitions off Amazon and to show up at your front door. There's a whole different industry that's developed. So this was the information that I talked about earlier, where the European Union had actually scrubbed 100,000 dead soldiers from their website. And, here it is. Take a look at it. And then they removed it, and they said that the real number was up to 40,000 injured. So the West is putting out propaganda to make it sound like Russia is losing, to keep the money flowing, and to boost the spirits of those in the West who will be sent to war. Okay? And that includes America, buddy. Includes us. They cannot tell the truth that Russia is winning. This is a propaganda war. 90% of war is psychological. It's lies upon lies upon lies. You don't see anything on your feeds that say that Russia's, not losing this war, right? And that's the problem. So the admission from Merkel, and I did another video on that one over here, that the entire Minsk agreement was carried out in bad faith only so Ukraine could build up an army to fight for Russia has shown Putin's dream of expanding the economy and integrating the West for the benefit of the Russian people. That's all he wanted to do was expand trade, which was the policy of the oligarchs, was a fool's dream. And Merkel admitted that they played Putin for a fool. Because Putin kept on thinking that he could engage the West, he could trade, and he could be treated as an equal. But the whole entire time, he was warned, he was there to save Russia. And it was the fight to take over Russia. And that's what's been going on this whole entire time. I mean, you're sitting here in America and you're wondering, Russia's bad, Russia's this, Russia was involved in the elections. And it's all a bunch of nonsense. Even Trump comes out and says it. But you have to wonder, going into this pre-Trump stuff, Russia was always the bad guy. Somebody else was pulling the strings. Somebody else has been determining the agenda. It just wasn't you or me, my friend. So the data was intercepted from the Ukrainian drones have confirmed the involvement from the U.S. and Poland in preparing the attacks on Russia. With the Biden administration preparing to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine, they can pretend this is solely for defense. But understand, these missiles can also be used for offense. Ukraine will use them for offense. And I'm looking at the first week of January. For when this is really going to ratchet up. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, man. They're going to rain directly down on Moscow. They're going to attack the capital. I mean, you and I both know this. So that's just crazy. Again, why is all this happening? It's because the world monetary system is collapsing. The bond crisis in London has also exposed the real problem. With interest rates held artificially low for 8.6 years, we're talking like negative, man, at some point. This is not an institution that has been killed to buy government debt and has not lost at least 30% on those bonds in 2022 since rates have risen. All world leaders are total morons. They only look at what is in front of their nose and are incapable of seeing that the world economy is intrinsically all connected. This is why Yellen was proposing buying in the long term and swapping it for the short term. The long term is collapsing on a global scale because major capital has begun to see the writing on the wall. So that's what you have to understand, is that, there's a culmination of events here with interest rates, the bonds incapable of selling the debt, interest rates rising. It's just the debt situation is incalculable. So we're getting closer and closer to what they need, which is war. And there's only one man that's stopping all this. And unfortunately, that's Putin. And when he's gone, Katie barred the door.